everyone. Thank you for tuning into ATX Television Festival Season 10. I'm Jennifer Morgan, the festival's Director of Programming, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to introduce this next panel, which centers on one of our favorite topics, casting. So many of the series that we love and celebrate at ATX would not be possible without the talented casting directors like the ones that we have here today. And we're especially excited to dive into the world of unscripted casting for the first time. We're extremely proud to count the Casting Society of America as a longtime partner. And I wanted to say a special thank you to Tracy Lillienfield, a legendary casting director in her own right, and a member of the ATX family, for helping us put this incredible lineup together. I can't wait to hear what these panelists have to say, and I know you can't either, so let's get to it. I'm gonna bring out our wonderful moderator, Emily Longeretta from Us Weekly, to get us started.
I am so excited to get started and introduce some of these panelists because I love reality TV and I cannot wait to ask them all of my burning questions. So I'm going to start out with Ron Mare, who is the VP of Casting and Talent Relations at Magical Elves. Thank you so much, Ron, for joining.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
And next up, we're going to bring out Megan Sleeper, who is a casting director and works on Born This Way. Hi, Megan. Thank you for joining. Next up, we have Ethan Petersen, who is also a casting director and works on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Hello.
Hi, Ethan.
Hi.
And then last but definitely not least is Pamela Vallerelli. She's a senior director of talent and casting at ITV America and works, of course, on Queer Eye. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Guys, I'm so stoked to talk all about casting with you guys. And I want to start off kind of just asking you why you decided and why you enjoyed this job of the world of reality TV and unscripted TV in general has so many different departments. So I want to start off with kind of why you really enjoy the casting process. Megan, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'd love to. You know, I think like all of us, no one sets off when they're 5 dreaming like I want to be a reality casting director. You kind of fall into it. And for me, that's what happened. I studied film at Emerson College in Boston. And then I moved out to LA and wanted to work somewhere in the film television industry and somehow landed in casting. And my first project was casting at MTV's The Real World, which was, you know, old school, one of the first reality shows out there. So, and I went on to cast, I think, 21 seasons of MTV's The Real World. So, you know, for me, what I love most about casting is every day is different. Every show that you're working on is different. Shows, typically you're working on it anywhere from a month to 3 months, and then you're on to the next one, and you're getting to know people and their life stories all over the country, sometimes all over the world. And, you know, it keeps your life interesting. And if you're a people person, it's a great job.
Definitely. Ron, what about you?
Yeah, I think she said it great, where you don't necessarily set out to do this, you kind of fall into it. And when I first moved out to LA, I fell into it. And I immediately saw this sense of joy that you could bring to people depending on the show that you're casting them on. You know, I started my career on America's Next Top Model and did that for a very long time. And, you know, people were just excited to be a part of it. And now, you know, getting to work on shows like Top Chef and Nailed It and things like that with Magical Elves, you know, the joy that people get from getting chosen to be on these shows is just like very fulfilling. And yes, I am a big people person. You get to meet tons of great people and new people from around the world. It's great.
Ethan, what about you?
You know, for me, I was born and raised in Los Angeles. And so I didn't obviously know I was going to get into casting, but I was a PA on one show and then I fell into the casting department. And then next thing you know, I'm casting, you know, the first ever Temptation Island, which was an experience. But, you know, for me, I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories, their journeys. I love to know what they've been through to get to where they are today. Like, who is this person that I'm talking to? You know, as casting directors in this world, we're truly molding characters based on what we're listening to. And so for me, I'm obviously a people person, but I'm also someone that's, I get inspired by what I hear sometimes, which is, you know, true joy of this job.
And then Pamela, what about you?
Yeah, I think I agree with the group in that, you know, I didn't set out to do this, but I applied for like any entertainment internship and I happened to intern at ABC's Wife Swap. And immediately I felt like these are my people. The people that I was working with were just so inspiring, and getting to to collect these stories. Like you just feel like almost a therapist a lot of the times when people open up to you immediately and tell you their deep, dark secrets. And I'm really proud of the way this industry has evolved over the course of our career, because I feel like the quality of programming has just gotten so wonderful, and we're so fortunate to be able to tell these incredible, powerful stories.
Absolutely. And I wanted, and this is for anyone who wants to answer. I know that obviously it depends a lot on the show, but are there certain things that you really look for in someone when casting in general? Because I would say there's certain people and certain personality traits that make good TV, but you also want to find that balance with a person that people can relate to as well.
I can go first. So speaking for Magical Elves, we pride ourselves in it's talent first and everything else kind of falls second. So on a show, let's just say like Top Chef, we always set people up for success. So we need to make sure, like, if you were chosen for the show and if you did make it on the show, can you potentially get on and win? You know, so we always go with talent first and then everything else kind of falls second. And then, you know, there are so many talented people out there. So everything that you want to fall second generally falls into place.
I think authenticity is huge too. Audiences are smart and they can sniff out if somebody's faking it for the cameras like that. So we really look for people who are real, not afraid to be vulnerable and just tell it like it is.
Yeah, and just to add to what Pamela was saying, we always like to say someone who can't help but be themselves. So someone who's not trying to be something, someone who's just interesting in who they are and couldn't be any other way. Certainly no filter is great. Someone who has charisma is great, passion. You know, you're looking for someone who has layers in who they are. So especially if it's a show, it's all different types of shows, but if it's a show where they're going to live in a house and be filmed for months, you know, can they sustain a season? Is there, you know, is there more to them than just a pretty face? You know, what's gonna hold and capture the audience's attention and make them want to come back week to week to watch them and learn more about them.
Definitely.
You know, it's funny too with a show like RuPaul's Drag Race, we're looking for so many factors, because these queens, they have to obviously be extremely talented and perform, but they have to be an authentic voice, you know, a voice that, you know, is heard all over the world on our show. And so for us as casting directors, we always look for the girls that, you know, have the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, but we also truly look for, you know, the queens that live in their truth. You know, it's so important as casting directors for all these shows. So many people, you know, they perform for us and they tell us what they think we want to hear, but in actuality, we just want them to be themselves, because, you know, these are real people that we are casting on these shows, not, you know, necessarily, you know, scripted characters. So.
For sure. And Ethan, also for you, obviously, like season 13 had such a strong cast of queens that came from so many different backgrounds, which was so awesome to see. And I think obviously now more than ever, we need to see that more and more on TV. How much does that go into casting? Because of course, you know, people that show different walks of life and that aren't really just showing one thing over and over again.
Well, you know, with RuPaul's Drag, we look to cast queens that will continue to push, you know, for more inclusivity within, you know, our community, the LGBTQ plus community, you know, with everything from, you know, gender, race, you know, the style of drag. That's what's so cool about Drag Race too. It's like over the years, drag itself has transformed into something so, you know, so than what it was, say, you know, 15 years ago. So yeah, we really want to, you know, include everyone, be as diverse as possible. And that is truly one of the staples of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah. And for anyone who wants to answer this, I wanted to talk a little about the relationship between you guys as running casting and the producers on a show, because obviously some do both, but I'm curious if there is a little bit having to push and pull a little bit between who gets to call the shots on what. So if anyone who wants to talk about that.
On Queer Eye, I think we're so blessed. Like 95% of the time, the producers and the casting team are like thumbs up in sync. Jen Lane is our showrunner. She's amazing. Netflix is amazing. There's that 5% where I know if I like can't sleep at night and I'm like thinking about this person, like that's when I'll push. But otherwise, like we're in that 95%. But yeah, I'll push when it's time.
I tend to find that the producers overall really respect and trust casting directors and the casting team's opinions. I think where we find we have to push the most is with the networks, because, you know, it's, as a casting team, we're going to have our favorites. And we unlike a network, we as a casting team have spent months sometimes with these casts, and we really, these cast candidates, and we really get to know them, and we know them inside and out. We've interviewed them sometimes for hours, and whereas the network is going to watch a small 3-minute edited reel and make their decision based on that. And, you know, so much can be determined based on a 3-minute reel that may not be the full picture. And so oftentimes it's our jobs to, you know, do the best we can. You know, we can't win them all, but do the best we can to, you know, share what we had experienced with the cast candidates that the network's not seeing in a 3-minute casting reel, in hopes that they make the right choice that we feel is the right choice, which doesn't always happen.
Definitely.
Yeah, and on a show like Top Chef, you know, that show's been on for so many seasons at this point, and we've been, you know, we work so closely with Bravo, and the producers over there and the producers on our end are just, you know, they've been together for so long that everybody kind of trusts everyone else's opinion. And it's rare that it's ever, you know, I want this one and you want this one. It's usually like they trust us and we trust them, and we always come to a solid agreement.
It's funny, on RuPaul's Drag Race, we obviously have, you know, we deal with the producers throughout the casting process, but ultimately, you know, RuPaul is so hands-on with the casting of this show that ultimately it's Mama Ru's choice with the producers. So, you know, our job, you know, as the casting directors was just to showcase the best talent that comes in that season. And, you know, we know what they're looking for, obviously, but at the same time, it's their choice, and our job is just to present them the best candidates possible. So yeah.
Right, makes sense. When it comes to the different types of unscripted series, of course, shows like Top Chef, you're looking for the most talented in a specific skill set, whereas Queer Eye and Born This Way is very different with that. It's a very different process of the kind of people that you're looking for. What is the biggest differences? Can you guys talk a little bit about that? Maybe if Ron, if you want to go first, I don't know, because I know you've worked on a few different shows out there that are different.
Sure. So for Top Chef, when it comes to Top Chef, like I was saying earlier, you know, obviously it's talent first. You know, the way we go about finding these chefs is it's referrals. It's, you know, paying attention to the awards that came out that year. It's paying attention to social media and what's trending and what's new, and, you know, like the people that we can see that are like rising up. Because, you know, for a show like Top Chef, we like to find those diamonds in the rough. We like to find those people that we can, you know, put on a platform and give them their chance to share their voice with whatever community they want to share it with. So for a show like that, that's generally kind of how we go about it.
And then Megan or Pamela, do you kind of want to like talk on the other side of it?
Sure. I would say casting Born This Way for me was unlike any other show I've ever worked on before. So I can't even put that as just in like a, you know, structured versus unstructured category. It was definitely, I mean, number one is that we had to, as a casting team and the producers as well, we had to kind of educate ourselves and make sure that, you know, we were approaching things correctly, and that we were approaching things in the correct sensitive light, and just kind of really educating ourselves about the Down syndrome community. So that was step number one. And we aligned ourselves with certain organizations that helped us do that. And then it was really, you know, when we were casting Born This Way, people in the disability community were not as highlighted in media. So there was definitely, with the families that we were speaking to and approaching about casting, there was definitely understandably hesitation, because they wanted to make sure that their families and these young adults with Down syndrome were being presented in a positive light and an accurate light. And so it was a little bit of like educating ourselves, and then, you know, making sure that these families knew that we were pursuing the cast and the show, and it was in like the right light. And so that was the second step. And then ultimately, I think what we found with the casting process with Born This Way is it was just, at the end of the day, in selecting the cast, it was just like any other cast. You know, these young adults have amazing stories, amazing different paths, different personalities. They have relationships, dreams, goals, heartbreaks. And so it was just with any other cast of an unstructured program, just finding the right mix that that would kind of represent all different areas. And I think that's true with especially any unstructured format. You want a cast that is going to not all be the same so that they can ultimately learn and grow together.
Absolutely. Pamela, did you want to add anything?
I think Queer Eye is unique in the sense that a lot of unscripted television, you're sort of sometimes looking for the biggest person in the room, or on Skype, you're always like, give me more, hype it up, more energy. But on Queer Eye, it's more just be yourself, tell your story. It's okay if you're a little bit quieter. It's okay if you're a little bit shy even. We wanted someone who has room to transform and blossom into that bigger version of themselves at the end.
Do you guys feel, and I specifically, Megan, I think that this probably is more pointed to you, very protective over the group that you do cast? And does that kind of like, versus a show like The Real World, it's more of a guilty pleasure in a way, which is not a bad thing at all. I mean, obviously, but is it different for when you're doing Born This Way?
You know, I think what we learned about young adults with Down syndrome is they don't need protecting. They're actually, you know, just like everyday people. Of course, I would say more than protecting, it's the sense of like, it just felt like something special. And I think something that was really great about that program and that cast is there's a chance to really affect an audience for the better. And you don't get to do that with every reality show. I'm sure Queer Eye feels the same way. You know, some shows are just fun and entertaining, and that's great. When you do get a chance to cast a project that could have a really meaningful impact, it really makes you feel good. And I would say the Born This Way cast also just kind of changed me in a way that you don't always, you know, I wouldn't say every show you cast changes you as a person, and that cast certainly did.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I wanted to talk a little bit about how the process has changed during COVID, because obviously a lot of shows continued, but casting may not have been in person. I don't know who wants to talk about that first, but I know that a lot of you have kind of gone through that during this time.
What's funny is with RuPaul's Drag Race, the whole casting process since I've been on the show I've been on the show for 8 years. It's been digital from day one. So, you know, the queens, they put together these phenomenal casting tapes, and, you know, we edit them down, we pitch the best ones. And in COVID, you know, all that really happened is that our pitch, rather than going to World of Wonder and doing what we do, you know, it was a digital pitch. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so there really wasn't that big of a change for RuPaul's Drag Race.
I would agree with Ethan. I mean, a lot of shows moved to digital a couple of years ago, so there was less and less travel, I think, around the country, which is what we used to do back in the day. So for us, it was like casting did not skip a beat. We all went home and we continued working because we just started doing it from home instead of in our office. And then, yeah, our meetings that we would have normally had in person, we came up with a system very quickly and started doing them online. And then we just have continued to do that ever since. And it's been going great.
Completely agree. Like Skype has been our way for years and years, but on a show like Queer Eye, when we do find out we're going to a new city, we do like to go boots on the ground and like knock on doors, because you never know who you'll find. And fortunately, we were able to go to our current city before COVID happened, which is Austin. Shout out Austin TV Festival, and find some amazing characters.
Yeah. Wow, that's so incredible that you were able to do that before. That's so awesome.
Couldn't believe it.
Megan, did you want to add anything?
I think just another interesting point is how casting has transformed since many of us probably first started, kind of playing off of what Ron said back. Okay, I'm going to age myself, but let's see, 19 years ago when I first started casting Real World, I was living on the road 80% of my life. And we had casting calls for Real World all over the country. And we go into all these college towns, and it was all about like going out to the college bars at night and finding people. And then thousands of people would come to these casting calls. Now there are shows still like American Idol or The Voice or Shark Tank that have big casting calls kind of still that are filmed as part of the show. But generally speaking, we've seen a huge transformation in the past, I don't know, however many years, where social media has made casting so much easier. And then Skype and now Zoom has, made it so that, we can cast, and of course, network budgets get tighter. So we cast without having to travel as much. And it's all, we can find, of course, there's still some elements that are great about, for like Queer Eye, getting to go into a town. You still will find someone that won't naturally, you wouldn't find otherwise. So whenever we have the opportunity to cast that way, it's definitely beneficial. But I think we've seen in the past few years, casting's really transformed into very much a digital. So when COVID came, it wasn't a huge change for many of us.
Yeah, and I was going to say, everyone has one of these. So if we need talent to give me a tour of your house, I can have it in 20 minutes.
It's so funny with social media and casting, because we do, the Skype interviews, we edit together the tapes, but it's fun for us because we get to stalk these people on their social media and we pull stuff that we see to create an amazing presentation for the producers. So, I mean, social media truly has changed the game. And a lot of my friends that were casting directors that have gone on to sell their own shows, they've sold shows based on casting footage and stuff they pulled from people's social media. Truly incredible. The whole, I think the casting process, the way people sell shows, it's changed so much over the years. But I miss traveling. I don't know about you guys.
I loved it. I loved being on the road. That was the best.
It was awesome. So,
My little camera and tripod, like going into people's houses.
Right.
Sometime.
Eventually, maybe we'll get back there at some point. For Pamela, obviously for Queer Eye, it's all about finding people that the audiences can connect to. And obviously you guys have done such an incredible job doing that. How does casting for that differ from any of the jobs that you've done in the past? Because it is such a different kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I think it touches on a couple of points that were brought up earlier. I think representation, when you're in season 6 of a show, you have to look back and look at the stories that we've already told and think, okay, what stories are out there that we haven't told? What groups haven't we represented? A lot of people like to think of the show as an issue-based show, but it's really kind of like what Ron said, talent first, the rest comes later. If you have a great story, well, the issues, everyone has issues, those things will come up. It's really just about the person being someone that you can root for and get behind, and someone that people want to watch transform.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Likability.
Yeah. When you're not working and when you're watching unscripted shows, are you thinking, do you always kind of have your casting hat on? Like, are you thinking like, what was the process in casting this person? Or they did a really great job, or maybe not. Are you guys thinking that when you're watching TV? Anyone, go ahead.
We're all afraid to say.
You don't have to say any specific shows, but just in general, is that something that's in your mind? Because I think when you work in that industry, it's tough not to kind of just like think that side of it.
I think so, yes. I mean, because it's always great to see somebody else's work and then to be like, they found someone great. I wish I found that person, and to focus on like the positive end of it. To be like, they did such a great job on this. I wonder how they went about doing this, I wonder if they're doing a different system or whatever it is. But
I like that with access. Sometimes when I see someone got access somewhere, I'm like, how did they do that? What is going on here? I get very curious and excited for whoever did it.
And then it's also, we just don't turn it off. So if we're out, I mean, right now we're not out as much, but when we're out at a restaurant, and the waitress or waiter comes up and they have like, oh, they're so cute and have a great personality. In our heads, we're always thinking, what can I cast them on? You can't turn it off.
Some of my friends, they'll get mad at me if we're out and about and I see someone, and especially if I'm casting a game show, the world is my oyster for that. But, when you huge fan of drag, and so I go to drag shows all the time, and that's something that I truly missed during COVID, was the ability to go see girls perform. And for me, it's like when I see that the talent and what they do on stage and how they pull in that audience, to me that's when my ears go up and I get really excited about a queen. So I'm very excited that drag is back and you can see shows in person. Tip your queens. It's very important. Tip your queens. But it's a 24/7 gig looking for people. And it's also a 24/7 gig when you're dealing with people. Keep in mind, these people on these shows, they are entrusting us with their lives and they have so many questions. And our job as a casting director is kind of to calm them down, make sure everything's going to be okay. And so they might have questions at, midnight or, 5 a.m. It's happened. So yeah, it's truly a 24/7 gig.
Definitely. Ron, I wanted to talk to you about going from you started in America's Next Top Model, and now you do a lot of shows that are food based.
Yes.
Do you have a preference? Do you I know you guys all kind of said you fell into casting a little bit, but is there a preference now when it comes to getting into doing all of these shows that are all around food?
I wouldn't say a preference. So I've always had a love for the culinary arts. So I feel very blessed in my got to work on, a ton of different food shows, and Magical Elves does a bunch of different food shows. I like talking about food. I like eating food. I like trying restaurants. I love meeting chefs. I never get bored of it, which is to me, what you kind of want out of work. It's I'm not bored of talking about this all day long. So getting to do a show like Top Chef is, to me, the best. It's what I was going finally got to happen. And yeah, I just love food so much. I don't know about you guys, but it's just great.
Of course.
Yeah.
And what about you guys, the rest of you? I mean, was there a specific kind of genre you were looking toward that you wanted to do once you got into casting?
For me,
Go for
I
it.
was gonna say, for me, I don't have a specific genre that I prefer, but I like if I finish a really heavy, meaningful show, then I want something light and fun. And then when I'm done with the light and fun, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for something that makes me feel good about myself, ready for a really quality, meaningful, so I just like to kind of, I like when it's not all the same, where we kind of hop from one to the other. Keeps life interesting.
For me, it's morphed over the years, because when I started in the business, I wanted everything I could get, game shows, the crazy outlandish shows. Now I like to work on shows that make a difference, being blessed by, having the privilege of working on RuPaul's Drag Race. Our show truly changes lives, and it's all over the world, for kids to watch this show, for people that are questioning their sexual identity, who they are, to have this beacon of hope of RuPaul's Drag Race. That is the biggest gift for me, just as a human being. So, for me moving forward, I want to do more shows that make an impact. Because with the power of media and entertainment that we're also blessed to be in, we have a chance to truly make a difference in this world by telling very important stories. People, get through certain obstacles that they might have.
Absolutely. Pamela, did you want to add anything?
I agree. I mean, Queer Eye, I've been on now since season 3, and it is my favorite show I've ever worked on. I guess I'm just realizing that now, but it truly is. And I keep in touch with our heroes, and, we text each other on social media, and just to see how these people have changed their lives so much. I just feel incredibly blessed to be a part of that, and to have been with them since day one as they go on that journey. And it's just special. It really does give you all the feels.
Absolutely. What about when it comes to casting hosts or judges? Because I know some of you have some experience in that. How is that process different? Because obviously that's a completely different kind of journey. So I don't know who wants to go first, maybe to talk a little bit about that.
I'll jump in. Casting hosts and judges is very different. I mean, 9 times out of 10, we're casting a celebrity. So the process for a reality show where we're casting a cast is finding, whereas with celebrities, it's really what celebrity might really speak to the show or relate to the cast in general, whatever the journey is they're going to experience on the show. So that's a key element. And then of course, especially if it's celebrities, which 9 times out of 10 it is, we're going to agents and managers and working with them. And if it's a huge celebrity, they want to know an offer before you even get to speak to them or get so I may not have ever spoken to this celebrity before. I don't know their personal story yet, but I have to put an offer on the table before I get to. And eventually we'll get there and we'll get to talk to them and get to know them and see if they really are a good fit. But yeah, it's definitely a different process. I don't know. else wants to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, going off of what Megan said, it's about, if you are going to cast a celebrity or something, it's about how they relate to the project that you're working on. So it's definitely a very different process. And then again, reaching out to the agents and the managers and setting all of that up.
Yeah, in casting hosts, you obviously, you go after big celebrities, but when it comes down to casting experts, a lot of times we have to give people copy to, they have to, pretend with us that they're judging us or critiquing us, or we show them something and they kind of have to, do something with whatever we're showing them. So it's a very different process, but, it is fun to meet people that are experts in their field, that are at this level, that we get to talk to and deal with. So it's very different from casting just, reality contestants or reality participants.
Pamela, did you want to add anything, or did you kind of?
I think that everyone said it well. A lot of logistics involved, availability, agents, the network, they want to see a lot of options usually when you're casting hosts or judges. Everyone has their own opinion, but everyone really said it.
Yeah, absolutely. Ron, I want to ask you, what is the toughest part of your job?
The toughest part of my job. So for any show, obviously you only have a certain amount of people that can make it on that season. So it's like you always have a larger pool. So the toughest part for me would be that, you have a large pool of these talented people that you want to be able to showcase all of them, but not all of them can make it. So that's why we, on some shows, you invite people back season after season to, why don't you try again this season? Maybe this season there'll be a better fit for you. And, because obviously casting is like putting a puzzle together, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I would say the toughest part for me would be not getting to showcase all of the people that, we find and that we're proud of.
No, but it's making the phone calls to people that, don't get on because they really do put their heart and soul into getting everything that we need. And, their families and friends sometimes are involved in the casting process. And then to make that awful call, I don't send emails, I call, because I think they deserve to hear my voice. But that's one of the toughest parts of the job, for sure.
Megan, Pamela, either one of you want to chime in there?
Totally agree. The phone call, always a phone call, and it's always hard. It never gets easier. You're never used to it. You're never numb to it. It's people that you formed a connection with and that really, truly, honestly do make it close to getting on the show, so close. And you have to tell them that news. But working at a company like ITV, you always keep people in mind for other shows that might come up, other development projects come up. That's how, when we are assigned a new project, you think of who's in my email that I haven't used before that could be a good fit for something. So those relationships are always intact.
The other thing that can be tough is, if it's a project and you're casting for 3 months and it's your favorite person and you worked with them for months and then they drop out right before the final cast decisions make, and that happens more than we'd like, that's also tough too, especially if it's like someone that you feel like is going to be such a strong impact to the show and then they drop out, and people drop out for so many different reasons, family, job. All of a sudden the thought of being on television scares them because they've never done it before, and that can be disheartening and disappointing too when that happens.
When you guys when you decide to start doing a new show, what is the most difficult part of joining a new show and becoming part, kind of learning the ropes right away with a whole new series, especially when it's a show that hasn't been around before? It's a show debut first time and kind of figuring out how to create that chemistry and find those qualities you're looking for.
The hardest thing is selling people on it and telling them look, I promise you, this is a real thing. There's a real network. When they have nothing to watch to go off of, they're kind of trusting us completely that this is a valid project and that it's going to happen and has legs. So earning that trust right off the bat when you have, and sometimes a lot of the details of the show might be confidential because the network hasn't announced it yet. We can't even say sometimes what network it's for, who's producing it. It's very vague, but we have to pitch 20 options by Friday. So getting that trust is tough.
It's kind of fun to work on it's kind of fun to work on the new shows because you get to build the machine. You get to build the process and you learn as you go. And, it's like for RuPaul's Drag Race, it is truly a machine. And, a lot of, for $1 million listing, that's a machine. But for new shows, you gotta kind of learn the way that works for that show. Like how far can you push? What kind of people work? What people don't? And for me personally, I love doing development. And yes, it is hard to kind of convince people to do the shows, but luckily, you know, being in the business for so long, it's gotten easier. But there's been times when, you know, if I was in a bar on Pier Avenue out in Newport Beach, and with my little business card, I would have to convince someone to do this random show. It was tough.
I wanted to also ask you, Ethan, because I know you worked on Say I Do as well. Is that correct? And that was obviously a fresh idea that people hadn't really known about. And a lot of it came, you know, a lot of great attention came from it also because it aired at a time where people needed something happy. How much does that also go into it when you guys are thinking on taking a new show? Is timing?
Timing is everything. And, you know, with Say I Do, that is one show that interviewing the participants, I cried several times casting that and meeting those people. And, you know, it was difficult, but not that difficult, because thanks to our friends at Queer Eye, thanks Pamela, you know, we said, like, from the producers of Queer Eye, and there was definitely hype surrounding that show because we had the beauty of Queer Eye behind us. But, you know, yeah, it was so moving and touching, and everyone really embraced that casting process. And we actually got thousands of submissions for a season 1 show. So it's a show that I'm so proud to be a part of, just with the dreams that we kind of made come true on that.
Absolutely, for sure. And when it comes to, what about casting an all-stars season? Because I think that that's something that a few of you've done, and it's something that fans love, of course, but there's always, no matter what, going to be fans who want certain people that weren't able to come back for one reason or the other. How hard is it to find that balance of bringing back fans, but also people that you believe are all-stars that maybe weren't given the best, you know, the best edit, or weren't fan favorites?
Well, my personal opinion, look, with Drag Race, if you get on the show, you are an all-star. You know, it's still a television show where a puzzle, you know, it's like what Ron said, and it's true. You are putting together a puzzle, and there are a lot of queens that have appeared on RuPaul's Drag Race. So, you know, you still got to put together the right fit. But yeah, you win by getting on the show, on our show, for sure. So, sorry about that. That was me.
Ron, what about you?
Yeah, so Top Chef just did a season of All Stars, and I mean, it definitely, you look at it in a different lens than when you're casting a normal season. But I mean, we've had such great talent, like Ethan just said, like when you get on Drag Race, you're already an all-star. When you get on Top Chef, you're already an all-star. So like you have the pick of the litter here to like kind of go off of. And then it just comes down to availability and who's interested, and, you know, and what any other factor that might play into it. But, you know, the talent level that comes on Top Chef is just so high that you can really kind of just choose from anyone.
Yeah, definitely. I always like to ask this when I do ATX panels, because obviously this is a TV festival and everyone loves TV. And for you guys, you have so much experience working in unscripted. What unscripted shows do you guys watch? Pamela, why don't you go first?
Thinking, I just watched The Circle. Very impressed with the casting, jealous of the people who got to do the casting. Shout out to you. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right behind
Megan,
on that, The Circle. Aaron, you did an amazing job. But you know, it was a fantastic cast, and I love the premise of the show, and it's very 2021. So yeah,
absolutely. Megan, what about you?
Like The Circle, like Survivor. I like any talent-based shows. Those are always fun. The Project Runways and the Making the Cut. And I enjoy that. I think I like to watch people who are super talented in areas that I'm not super talented, and just like live vicariously through the cast. Wish I could design an outfit the way they do.
Same. Ron, what about you?
Honestly, I watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Love to sit through it. You know, it's not something you have to pay attention to, but you can pay attention to, or you cannot, you know. So it's relax my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And then before we wrap, I want to ask you what advice you would give yourself when you started working in casting, and kind of what the lesson that you would learn now that you would wish you had learned back then. Whoever would like to go first. I don't want to put anyone on the spot. But.
I would say for me, a lesson that I've learned is to not take it personally if other people aren't a fan of who you think is great. You know, casting is obviously very subjective. So it's like, I could love someone. I could love them to death. That doesn't mean everybody else is going to love them to death. So for me, a lesson or advice I would be like, is don't take it personally, you know, just keep going.
It's great advice.
For me, it's, you know, casting, it's a group effort. There's so many people with so many different opinions. And that's the beauty of being a creator, that you get to put these amazing minds together and come up with an amazing cast, and not to take it personally if your favorite person gets on. Also, one thing, you know, be a great listener, because I know when I was starting out and I was a young kid, you know, I was in my 20s going around to bars having fun. I didn't listen as much as I do today, because when you listen more as a casting director, you can hear the clues to what makes a great story. And that's really important, you know, for me, to kind of tell the right story through these people's voices.
Keep your eye out for the unexpected cast find. So I think that, and I think as we've grown, we've all learned this, but there's, you know, the typical reality cast person who's beautiful and great personality, but there might be someone who isn't just typical that really ends up being an amazing cast choice that will really pull the heartstrings and tell a great story, and might not be what you instantly are looking for. So keep your eyes open and be open to something walking in the door, or walking into your Zoom or coming across social media that might be an unexpected, amazing cast find. And also appreciate, I would say also appreciate what we do, what our job is. I think when we're young, you just get into it. But I think what is so great about our job is that it's exciting. We love what we do. You would, if you don't work in casting if you don't love it, and not everyone gets a fun job. We have a very fun job, and to be able to do this line of work for years is pretty special.
I think for me, it would be to enjoy the journey. In our job, we're very focused on deadlines, and, you know, when is this pitch due? When is this show have to wrap by? But the process is really enjoyable and fun, and to just really be in the moment and enjoy every single day.
Absolutely. Well said. Guys, thank you so much for joining. That was so much fun, and I'm obsessed with all of your work, so I cannot wait to continue watching. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
For having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Emily.